This is Drop Tent Media Network.
Late Bloomers with comedians Karen Schwartz and Sandra Doss.
Hi, you are listening to the Late Bloomers podcast with comedians Sandra Doss.
Hi.
And me, Karen Schwartz. Thanks for joining us. Today, Sandra and I are going to be talking about how to bridge the generational gap, which that's a big one, right?
That is a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Because we're in the middle. I feel like we're, as parents and, we're parents, we're about middle-aged. And then, we have like older influential people in our lives too. We've got like people older than us who have expectations to live up to. We've got children to be cool enough to hang with. But I mean, in comedy too, for us.
In comedy, especially, that kind of it's a constant reminder.
It
of
is.
That.
I mean, like several times a week, even if we aren't directly interacting with our family members that are in the other two generations above and below us. I feel like on a very almost daily reminder, working on a material at the open mics, there's definitely a big gap between our ages, I would say, and most of our friends that we're working on our material with.
And it presents challenges, but also it's fun. In a way, it's fun.
Yeah.
Because you know what you experience when you, at least with our fellow comedians who are mostly younger.
Oh, yeah.
You see them and you remember yourself when you were that age and what you experienced and how fun it was and how it seems to have many things seem to come back.
Yeah.
And so you use references in I'm sure you do, and so do I. We use references in our jokes, in our stand-up, and sometimes they're so far back, and they really are way in the vault of memory lane. And we just don't realize it until we try certain material, certain joke. And you see that people don't get it because they don't remember that cartoon or that character or that
born yet
or something. Because they were not born, of course. And I guess TV tends to repeat a lot of things, but sometimes I guess, especially now that most people get their entertainment not from conventional TV. A lot of those older shows are not repeated so much. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I went too far back. Okay, I have to change that reference. But it's fun because every now and then, some people in the audience are like, wait, I remember that. And I've had people, has it happened to you that people come after shows and they tell you, hey, I was very small when, or I don't remember when my parents used to talk about that, or they would have, I don't know, they would have, in the past it was DVDs and God forbid VHS and Betamax and all that stuff. And so they kind of know about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting, but not enough people. So you kind of have to change the reference. So there you're like, oh, okay, I guess there is a gap there. Or terminology that we don't get because it's like what Gen Alpha? It's a Gen Alpha?
Oh, I don't even know.
Or
See,
Gen
that's
Z?
how far. I clearly have not bridged the gap.
Yeah, but see, you're a teacher, so you're in schools and you have contact with my
younger kid. It does help keep me
Uh-huh.
young in certain ways.
Right.
And when I try to use like their slang or imitate a Fortnite dance or whatever, my kids, they laugh. Like
And
I
you
definitely
do it very well. I
thank
might
you.
add.
My floss, I'll tell you what, I've been working on my floss, but the kids, I'll tell you what, like they'll crack them up. I'll use it to keep their attention.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a fake until you make it kind of a thing,
Yeah. Or picking up on little words and writing them down and asking your kids, what does this mean?
right.
But sometimes my kid doesn't know what they mean because it could be like a sports, like some term that's used in sports nowadays, and my kid
Oh,
is not into sports.
that's a whole other language.
Or
Yeah.
or a term that's like even younger kids use. So my kid is now starting college, so he may not know it, but maybe a middle schooler would know.
hmm
So I'm sometimes talking to my friends or relatives who have middle schoolers, and I'm like,
Right.
"Hey, what does this mean?" And then they tell me, I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I mean, yeah, like when I'll snoop my daughter's Instagram accounts,
Right.
and they know. I mean, I leave a trail. I leave little hearts. Like I'm not a sneaky stalker. I leave a trail
Yeah.
that I was there and I saw it. But my 22 and 18-year-old daughters, like every once in a while there'll be a comment, like one of their friends will leave, or like they'll comment on, or they'll take an attractive picture of one of their friends, and they'll put like for funny, they'll use like the word thick, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, wait, what does that mean? You know what I mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Or outfit slay, or and
Yeah.
they're usually using it kind of like in a joking, like a tongue in cheek kind of way. But yeah, I definitely have had to.
Yeah, it's part of the new lingo,
I've had to
right?
learn a lot of new words.
They're
Right.
not saying like groovy,
Right.
which is from the generation before ours.
Right.
That's something that in
yeah.
our times was like passé.
But then if I were
Um,
to be, on the phone with my parents and I were to
they'll
use
use
there's
groovy. They'll say
yeah,
groovy.
maybe we're groovy, but there's no way I could communicate with them in the same way, I guess, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, because then I guess
yeah.
we experienced it with our parents or maybe siblings or relatives that were a little bit old, that were like, I don't know, high schoolers when we were in
Right.
second grade or something like
But
that.
I feel like I'm completely adjusting the way that I speak, though, based on how old I perceive somebody to be when I
Uh-huh.
talk to them. And I hate it when someone does that to me. Like if somebody is mamming me, or like assuming I'm older and maybe more uptight than what I am, just
Yeah.
based on like what age I look like I am.
Yeah.
Like I know that really bugs me, but I know that I do it.
Yeah. I
I
don't
know that I
mind.
totally do it.
I don't mind because I figure it's the reality. They're being polite.
Right.
They're being polite, and
They're
I'm like,
trying.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, fine. It happened in comedy too. Like two comedians at first would kind of didn't know how to address, like, well, it's like, but then they relax, and it's like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, you're one of us. You're one of us, because that's what it is in comedy usually, and that is, well, in general, that is something that's less formal in among English speakers, I would say. Like for Spanish speakers, this whole thing of, addressing someone in a more respectful way because
Mhm.
they're older, that's a more
Right.
rigid thing.
You mean like
Tends to
the
be
you mean like the usted versus
exactly.
to,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
that is all I know about. It's all I
Yeah.
remember about
Yeah.
Spanish.
Using the formal until the person tells you that it's okay,
Okay.
yeah, it's more and that's I
Yeah.
like it. I
In
like it
English,
when
we
it's
don't really
more.
have that so much. We have like bruh and like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, unless they say, "Yes, ma'am."
Yeah, or
And
ma'am.
sometimes they do it, but,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
okay. People are sometimes joke and they say,
Mhm.
"Yes, ma'am." Yeah.
I'll throw my kids at school for, if one of the kids is doing something they shouldn't, I'll walk up to them and I'll say, come up and be like, bruh, and then the
Yeah.
kid will laugh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'll use it just to be
Yeah.
funny or to get their attention. But I know they know I'm faking it at their language. You know what I mean?
I know, that's like a different language.
Oh,
Well, when we had our, that show a comedy show that we were both on, in March at, PJ Ryan's in Phoenixville.
yes, yeah.
I wore a T-shirt that said the different stages, because I've seen it with my son. That he
Mhm.
starts with mom, something like
Like
mama,
mama,
ma,
yeah.
ma, bruh.
Yeah.
I mean, it ends up in bruh and it
Yeah.
starts with mom. It's just, it just happens. And I'm like, oh, that happens to me. I had to have that T-shirt. And a lot of people told me after the show, that's what happens with me and my kids.
Mhm.
Usually sons. I don't know. Do daughters say bruh?
Mine say it like in an ironic, like a funny
Uh-huh.
way. But it does make me think, I think about the relationship that I have with my now adult, children,
Uh-huh.
and the way that, we'll laugh, and the stuff that we talk about, we're
Mhm.
pretty open, and we'll talk about everything, and we'll be pretty
Mhm.
open. And it's not that I keep anything from my parents, because I don't, but the way that we talk about things is definitely in there's more of like a formal structure to that conversation in a
Yeah.
way. It's not.
Like you can't just jump into it. You have to like kind of.
Yeah, I feel like it's funny. I feel like I'm being always a little bit careful. And
Uh-huh.
like I'm not sure that my kids are careful when they tell me things, but I don't want them to be. I want them to
Right.
just be,
More
their
relaxed
full
about it. Just
selves. Right.
yeah.
I just let me have it.
Mhm.
Um, but I do feel like I do feel like I kind of adjust my approach when talking to my
Uh-huh.
parents, or even somebody who I feel like is older than me, you know?
Yeah. And they're
Yeah.
pretty. I mean, I haven't talked to them much, but it sounds like
No, they're cool.
they're
Like
pretty
they're actually
cool.
really cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very easy to be around, and they've
Yeah.
strong good sense of humor. They're not like easily offended or anything like that. It's just, but it is. I don't know. I think it's just,
It's
but
also
it's
you're their daughter.
right,
And then
right,
when I talk to
right.
them, I'm not,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Have you do you think that when you interacting with younger comedians has helped you um like talk to your daughters like adults, because
I
that
would,
sometimes can be difficult.
I would say yes. There's comedians that we spend, quite a bit of time with that, um, I feel like I'd be relating to on the same level. I'd be talking to
Mhm.
you, and you know, then that person would say something to really surprise me about how old they actually are. And I know Ronan Mayock like really threw me for a loop. I didn't realize he's practically my daughter's age. Like I always just figured he was older than that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And not that he looks
And
like he's
not
older.
exactly.
He
It's
doesn't
just
look
that
like, an
when you're
older,
young, you're in a range.
but
You're in a
but the
range that
level of,
you could be 18,
yeah, but
you
you're
could
having
be
like
20
certain
something.
level of a conversation with somebody, and you're like, oh yeah, it just, and I'm like, oh wait, no wait, that's, oh cool. Oh, actually, wait, he's my daughter. Okay, well, okay. Oh wow, okay, and like just yeah. So just stuff like
Yeah,
that. But we
it
do
has
we do
helped
have a
me.
lot of young. Same, I would say absolutely the same. We are usually around much younger people.
Yeah.
Um,
It has
you
helped
know.
me a ton
Mhm,
because I was having a problem with that, and actually my son sometimes said, "Mom, don't talk to me like I'm a little kid."
right,
And I'm like, "Oh, well, we're our parents' little kids." And I'm
right.
like, "Yeah, yes, but at the same time, now
Mhm.
he's growing and he's a young man, and so now this I think this interaction with younger comedians has helped me, with reminding myself that he is now, a young man. He's gonna be 19
Right.
in a few months, and I have to remember that.
Yeah. Do you think your son will ever do comedy? Do you think he'll ever do stand
He's
up?
very funny.
Yeah.
Just conversationally, he comes up with actually he knows instinctively the structure of a joke.
Mhm.
So he does the setup and the punchline. So he understands that the heart of the joke is in this element of surprise,
Mhm.
because that's where it lies.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So he understands that. He doesn't know, he hasn't, I don't think he's thought about it much. He doesn't know, oh, it's a misdirection. You expected me to go down this path, and then, oh no, here's the
Yeah.
surprise switch blade here. Woo. So he understands that, and he's naturally funny. I would say that he has more natural talent if he wanted to be a comedian than I have. I mean, I feel it that I
I
have to work at it hard.
I feel that I completely feel that way about both of my
Yeah.
daughters. Caden did some open miking over
Oh,
at
that's
Soul Joel's and
true. I
over at Phantom
remember.
Power at POV. Um, Yeah, she's just natural. She's just very natural up there.
But she didn't feel that it was for her.
Well,
She didn't like
she
it.
wanted to. She enjoyed it. She wants to. She's got a set she's working on that she doesn't want to keep bringing to the same place. Like she
Oh,
wants
she
to.
has a set.
Well,
Okay.
she's got a couple of stories that she's worked
I
out
see.
to be. It's very funny, and I think she doesn't want to be that person that goes to the same open mic doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Which I respect that. So she likes to try it in different
Yeah.
places. Now, but yeah, both of my kids from a
But
super
at the
early
same
age.
time,
What's that?
doing it, it's, I mean, repeating it will help her
Yeah.
refine and
Oh, yeah.
edit it
I
and
think
make
she
it
just wanted to
tighter,
mix up
maybe.
exactly, but I think she just wanted to mix it up and try it in different
I see.
locations, if that makes sense.
So you think she might like stand-up comedy, or maybe like, what is it, The Moth, or a story slam, or
Yeah, I don't
a
know.
different
I'm
kind
not
of
sure what you would call it, but she
spoken word
is just
type of
very
thing?
funny and good at telling stories.
Yeah.
But I mean, both of my kids have always been super funny, and
Yeah.
like to the where they would say something that I would just die laughing, but then at the same time I would worry and think, oh, like if my parents heard them say this, like would they be upset with me?
Oh,
You know what I mean? Not
yeah,
saying
yeah,
they
yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
necessarily, but
So
the
your parents would say, "Oh, she's saying this because
or like,
you
Karen,
didn't
how do
raise
you
her
talk
right."
around your
Is that what it
kids?
is?
You know, I don't know. Like there was like we were playing Candyland, and when Simone, my now 18-year-old, she was way younger. I mean, she must have been, I think she was 6. I think she was 6, maybe 7 tops when this story went down. We were playing Candyland, and I saw Simone draw a card, and I saw her eyes kind of light up, and she slams her card down, and it was the 2 hops to get her to the finish, like to win. But when she threw the card down, she was like, "Double purple, bitches." And, and she won. She won on double purple. The 2 purples were the 2 hops to get her to the end of the board. And when she said double purple, bitches, I lost it. I mean, it was still one of the funniest things. Like, I still crack up when I think about it. But there's things that, like, as a parent, we laugh at that our kids say, but then
And then you're thinking, I shouldn't have laughed at
but
that.
then I'm like, well,
No.
wait, but then you also like, you don't want to disappoint or offend like an older member of your family.
Right.
And then but you're like, well, should they be offended or disappointed? I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like a weird, at this particular age, it's a weird
It's going to
balance.
reflect negatively
Well,
on
yeah.
you.
And you want everybody to love each other and everybody to be great and
Right.
everybody to think, everything to be awesome.
Yeah.
You don't want just like I wouldn't want my daughters to be rubbed wrong by something my parents would say,
Right.
which is likely. You know what I mean? So,
but I don't
because of
think,
their differences in the way they look
but
at
that
things.
wouldn't
So,
reflect on you.
no,
at
but
least.
when you're that middle person, when you're trying to like navigate bridging that gap between these people that mean so much to you,
Yeah.
but they're but they're different experiences and their different way of looking at
Yeah.
things, and it's you do feel a responsibility to be the glue, even if it's not real. Like, even if it's not really my job, I do feel like it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I see
So,
what you
I do feel like the experiences we've had, like socially with people who do cross all those different ages, and just that more regular adult interaction I'm getting through comedy, I feel like it helps. And even that idea of knowing how to lighten a mood with a joke, or I think it's definitely been helpful. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that always helps.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, regardless of age. Yeah, it's always very helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, my son also, he's told me, I like that now you're treating me more like an adult, and
Yeah.
I like that. And I thought, okay, so I have to really pay attention, kind of keep myself, try to discipline
Yeah.
myself so I don't
Yeah.
treat him like a little kid. If he has something on his beard, tell him your beard, instead of going like that and wiping it
Yeah.
for him. I've done that very few times, by the way. It's just when I see that, it's just,
Mm.
yeah, I don't do it much. I don't do it much. But then, he saw that maybe my mom would do that with me, but
Mhm.
she shouldn't have. I
Yeah.
didn't like it either, but it was her personality. She would, yeah. But yeah, it takes some, yeah, you have to constantly realize that, younger people are going to be, like this, and they're going to say this, and,
Yeah.
just understand. I actually bought a book that is supposed to be about Gen Z
Mm.
term. And my son and I think both your daughters are Gen Z,
Yes, they are.
because
They're both well within that
my
window,
son
Gen
was
Z.
born in 05, and that's
Mhm.
between 05 and
Okay.
05 and what? I'm sorry. When does Gen Z start?
Looks like 1995
95.
to
Oh,
2012.
oh wow.
Yep.
A lot of people are Gen Z.
Mhm.
Gosh. Yeah. You see, I'm barely a Gen Xer. So I've been called boomer, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, that's like only a few years before,
Yeah.
it's like very close, because 66 is all right. By the way, I don't care about telling the world my age,
Yeah.
because nowadays people can go and find out.
Oh, yeah. No, everybody is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all about how good you look, and and how
Yeah.
you are at your,
I mean, I just turned 50, but if people thought I was 65, I
you would kill
probably look
yourself.
pretty good.
Kill yourself.
I probably look pretty good for 65.
That's right.
So,
That's right. Yeah, I'm
So there you
barely a
go.
Gen Xer. But Gen X is
Yeah.
also quite a wide range.
Oh, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
really large span of dates. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that. But I'm in there. I'm in there on the Gen X.
Yeah, and so a lot of stuff, it's
Yeah.
it sometimes gets blurred, just like music. Have you noticed
Mhm.
that sometimes people, they mention a song, or they play a song, and they say, "Oh, this is from the 90s," and you're like, "No, that's from 1982." That's what's wrong with people? Or it's something that's from the 70s, and it's like from 1990.
Mhm.
Yeah, so those things get kind of blurred sometimes,
Yeah.
and lumped together. They have their own thing,
Yeah.
their own.
But I do feel like music and comedy kind of they do kind of unify people of different ages, I would say. Like, you
Yes,
can have people of all different ages
that
really
is
into
a
the
good
same
bridge.
kind of music,
Yeah,
laugh at the same show, laugh at the same comedy show.
that is a bridge, because if I
Yeah.
make a reference to a "Ring My Bell," for instance, a
Mhm.
song that's close to my
Yeah.
heart, I have a joke about that song. And people get it, even though they're young. Why? Because
Mhm.
no matter how much people put down disco, etc., and say, "Oh, that's old," or whatever, nobody can get married without disco.
Yeah.
You need disco to have a wedding party. There's just music that is going to be played at a wedding.
That
You
iconic,
need it,
yeah.
and everybody
Yeah.
will go, come and dance.
Mhm.
That will get people up.
Yeah.
And so that, for instance, that joke worked with younger people, because they say, "Oh, that's when I was a flower girl." They played
Oh,
that song. No, but maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. My
Yeah.
sister got married. They played that song. I went to this wedding. They remember it
Mhm.
from that. So whatever. Okay.
Like
Okay.
those classic party songs, like
Yeah.
Celebrate and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even like, yeah, I'll even like my daughters, like they'll have their playlist on in the car, and they'll have like music that I grew up loving, like by the
Yeah.
Smiths, and I'm like, where did you find that? And
Well,
it's just
we
it's
have to
cool.
thank video
But like
games.
but that's like, it's funny because like when I think of thinking it was kind of cool that I listened to like what was considered oldies when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That was the music my parents grew up with.
Uh-huh.
It's funny to see kids now what's oldies for them. It's like, that's not an oldie. That's the music I listened to in high school. I'm like, wait.
Or how video games,
Yeah.
like, make things that are old, make them new.
Yeah.
If it's played in a video game, and that video game is popular or whatever, or a TikTok or Instagram reel or
Mhm.
something that becomes viral, and they're playing whatever song it
Yeah.
is, suddenly that's new again.
Yeah.
And that's where they remember it from.
Mm-hmm.
But we remember it when it
From
came
like
out.
when it was its time, and
Yeah.
not like
And see, something like that you can use, for a
Yeah.
joke because
Mhm.
they know what it is.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter something that they think it's new, that they
Mhm.
just, it's from TikTok. Fine, but they know which song it is.
Yeah. It
Know which
was
song. Yeah.
so funny. We so over the holidays, my daughter was home from Mexico, and my parents were visiting too. So I had everybody all together, and we went over to Soul's to see a show, and oh no, I was in that one. It was a 7 for 7, so I had a few minutes of time
And
in that
Soul
one.
Joe's is a comedy
Soul
club. And
Joel's and
7 for 7 is a show.
it's
there.
a show. It's
Yeah,
a show that
yeah.
for $7 you can see
Yeah,
7
because
comedians. And
there may be someone in Scandinavia
there could
listening
be.
to this.
And hello,
And
Scandinavia.
they-
Thanks for
Yes,
thanks for
yeah, hello, Scandinavia.
but yeah, it was funny. So I had a few minutes of stage time, and I was a little worried about, I didn't want to say anything in my set that would throw off either my daughter who was there or my parents. And I went for it anyway. I just did my material. And what was really funny is that a comic who followed me was doing a little crowd work and said, "Hey, clap it up if you're married." And my parents, they've
They
been married
clapped.
over 50 years. They're clapping. They've been married like 55 years. They're clapping. And the comic said, "Clap it up if you still really love making love to your wife." And my dad just great big claps. My dad.
Oh,
And so when
I
the
love
show
that.
was over, my parents said to me that there was one of my jokes that I told, one of mine, that they were like, "We could have done without hearing you say that one." And I was like, "Yeah." And then my daughter Kaden said, "Well, I could have done without seeing Pop clap about liking having sex with mom." And I just like died. I was like, "Oh," but when you put everybody together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just funny.
Yeah, I know. It's
It was
kinda
just
weird.
really funny how I'm out with my whole family and
Kinda weird.
really awkward car ride home. They're like, "Well, I could have done without that." It was just funny. But we all had fun.
I did a show in North Carolina at the a hotel in the Outer Banks, and my son and my mother-in-law were in the audience. And I was like, "Oh, okay." I prepared them, I warned them. And my set was pretty clean, but
Mhm.
I knew that the rest of the comedians would not be clean at all. And they were troopers. They were my mother-in-law especially, because for her, all that is like, she, but she understood and she didn't like it. She said, I'm not gonna go see that comedian ever. But I
Mhm.
realized that, that's how it is. My son, he was having a ball. Yeah, boys. He was red in the
Yeah.
face because he wanted to laugh really loud.
Yeah.
But his grandmother was sitting next to
I
him.
felt like
So
it
he was,
wasn't allowed.
and he knew that he just couldn't, but he
Yeah.
was laughing. I could see it in his eyes. He had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And also there was no sign that said this is for adults or 18,
Mhm.
but it was kind of implied. I don't know. It was, I was not the producer, and my son went in, and it was too late. I was like, oh my God, he's there, and he's still kind of tender,
Yeah.
17, and he was having his lemonade there and listening to all that, and I'm like, well, okay, well, and then he said, Mom, I know all that from school. I'm like, yeah, but I'm part of the show. I feel kind of bad. It's like I knew all that. I like hearing it.
Well, that's
It's
the thing, like, too,
funny.
like, well, like, and like, when, like, if you were, like, if we have, like, an actual show and you see that person show up with children
Yeah.
to the show, and then the parent will say, "Oh, it's okay. They've heard everything before."
Yeah.
My whole thing is, well, they haven't heard me say it before,
Right. They're
and
not
they're
gonna
not
hear
going
it
to
from me.
today. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, there's stuff that kids, I feel like kids know so much more nowadays. Like, I feel like they're so much more aware.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, maybe it's because, like, I know I didn't grow up with a phone, and now the kids have the entire internet just in their hands all the
That's
time.
true.
And they are so much more aware of
Yeah.
everything,
Right.
more than I was. I mean,
No more Encyclopedia Britannica.
right? Yeah, the encyclopedia. I had
Oh
encyclopedias. I
my
had a set of
gosh.
encyclopedias in my
I
house.
did too.
I
And
totally did. It took up like an entire wall. We had a piece of
yeah.
furniture dedicated to holding these encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And it was like the size of the encyclopedias. It roughly took up the length of a car.
It was like a room.
It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like it took up the length of a car in your house. And now kids just have a phone and they can look up everything.
They're so spoiled. As much
It's
as I like research and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm trained in research and that kind of thing. I remember having to research stuff remember when they had those pieces of furniture, these, they were filing cabinets for index cards. Remember that fiche,
Yeah.
whatever that they had at libraries?
Oh my gosh, the card catalogs
God,
in the
that was
library.
terrible. Looking through the
Oh, and
thing
you had to look
and
through all the cards, and they were written in some dull pencil, and you had to and the cards were yellow because
or
they had been in
typewritten,
there.
but it was like
Yeah.
faded, and it
Oh
had
yeah.
everybody's fingerprints and
Oh yeah.
marks with Cheetos and stuff and whatever.
And you might find the book that way. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Totally remember that.
Yeah, I remember. I hated that.
Yeah, and you had to do that to find a book that may or may not have had the information in it you needed.
Exactly. It was all a
And
gamble.
so we had to be more resourceful back then. I'll tell you what,
yeah.
because now it's so much easier it's so immediate now.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, back then, if you didn't know something, you had to know how to get it,
Right.
but be prepared to not actually get it. Like you had to be resourceful and resilient, like keep going to try to figure it out. Like
You had to be emotionally
now,
prepared to not have
now
a
it's like,
breakdown
oh,
because you
that
didn't
Google
find
search
it.
didn't give me what I wanted. So I have to type in this other word.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
not, oh, gee, I have to drive to a different
Yeah.
library. Or,
So nowadays people, younger people know so much
yeah.
because they have it all in the palm of their
It's all
hand.
right there.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, if that fails,
Mhm.
then they don't know how to troubleshoot,
Right.
which is what we
which we always
we had to do because that was it.
But it's like yeah, I mean, but like everything being so accessible, it's like totally is like a blessing and a curse. Cause like our kids, I feel like the younger generation of kids just knows so much more stuff that I can tell you at school, the stuff that they'll try to do at school or say at school. Um, I don't really feel prepared for how to deal with it like the right way because it's so different. Like the level is so much exponentially more
Yeah.
beyond like the stuff that
Yeah.
the words the kids say and use now, even just some of the physical gestures they'll do to be like funny, offensive at somebody. It's stuff that never would have been on my radar as a kid.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I
Yeah.
rode the bus. Like I learned basically all my sex and drug ed on the bus, but these kids, the stuff that they're doing at younger and younger ages because they can just boop, boop, boop right in the phone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, it keeps you on your toes.
And that just goes to show you that I am 50 years old because I did boop, boop, boop to imitate looking up something on a phone, which
onomatopoeia.
that doesn't happen.
Boop, boop,
There
boop,
is no boop, boop, boop. That doesn't happen. That was right.
Yeah. I guess
That's
we
not what
used a lot
happens.
more
That is
onomatopoeia.
not what happens.
Yeah.
The phone doesn't make that noise. It
It
doesn't do that.
That's maybe a more futuristic phone. It's kind of oh no, I think those were remember the button phones
Like
that came after the
like a-
rotary?
That was
Remember the rotary
I
thing, and then there were
I
these
imitated
buttons.
the sound of
Toot,
a
toot, toot.
push. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. A landline push button phone.
Oh dear. Yeah. See, there were
This is
some
me
wonderful
calling the
pleasures.
library to see if they have
There were
that
some
book I
wonderful
need.
pleasures that people will the younger generations will
Yeah.
never enjoy, like the prank calling. There was
Oh,
no caller ID.
I
You could just call
know.
with impunity. Hello, you just hang up the phone or just all
that
that
was
stuff.
best.
You cannot even go and ring people's doorbell. They have the
No.
ring
Ring
camera there.
there's no
They
ding dong
see
ditch
everything you
anymore.
do.
There's no prank calls.
Yeah. And all this was
No.
all in good fun, innocent
Right.
stuff. I mean, nobody was really
No.
harming. Well, I don't know, but we were not.
No.
It's usually children being children.
Yeah.
Children being children.
Oh, yeah,
Did you
pride
ride
kills.
skateboards as a kid? Were you a
So,
skateboard girl?
I was the girl that would watch the boys skateboard. I wanted to be cool enough to skateboard too, but because I had braces, and a nose job at a young age, my
Ooh,
parents were like, "No, too much money was spent on your face. You're not gonna stand on wheels and break
okay.
your face." Now my younger sister, she was a lot less clumsy than me and also didn't need any of that kind of correction. So, she had a skateboard that she got around on, but, I used to go and, like, hang out at, like, Fairman's or, any
Uh-huh.
place I knew there would be boys skateboarding.
Skateboarding.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I would just be, you
So
know
you were into skateboarding
Oh, yeah. Oh,
appreciation. Okay.
100%.
Oh,
That was
I
definitely my
love
type. That was
skateboarding.
definitely my type.
I did
Yeah.
stuff on a skateboard that now I'm like, I don't I would never, it's I guess I was so gutsy. Before
Yeah.
I broke a bone, I fractured my ankle and that kind of changed a lot of stuff. And I fractured my ankle and actually when I was 50.
Mm.
Yeah, 3 days before I turned 50. Okay. And but before I guess I never had any injury, so
Mhm.
I was kind of fearless, with a skateboard.
That's awesome.
I
I
would
wanted to be
I
that
would
girl
do
so bad.
those, let's say half pipe, I don't know,
Yeah.
that you go and
Oh, I used
you
to watch all the movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like
would go to all the
Search
parks
for
and stuff.
Animal Chin and Gleaming the Cube, but like like
Yeah.
I was just yeah.
How about roller skating? Is that
Oh,
were you into that?
I was good at roller
Or
skating.
roller blading? I
No,
was into
not
roller
rollerblading,
skating.
skating.
Yeah,
But back then, Friday nights, we would
that's
get
what we
dropped off at
did.
the roller
Yeah,
rink
that's what you did.
or the mall. Or the mall. Like
Yeah,
I got dropped off at the mall, and that was like the social thing to do for a few hours. You walked around the mall and annoyed people who own the stores in the mall with like a big pack of your friends.
right.
Yeah, we used to do that or the roller rink.
Roller
Yeah.
skating.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
feel like there isn't that stuff for kids to do anymore.
Yeah, no, no, because they're very everything is virtual.
Yeah.
They have I mean, there are good things too. For instance, my son is in contact with his friends from high school,
Mm,
and I think they will remain in contact because now they can be, and
mhm.
there's a technology. They're not gonna lose track
Well,
of each other.
that is one of the benefits of it.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's like so easy to keep track of where everybody is. It's not like it's not like you lose touch now if you wanted to.
if you want to, that's
Right.
right.
And yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to. Well, I'm an expert at keeping in touch because I've moved so far from my
Mhm.
friends that I actually I love social media because
Mm.
that's how I that's how I stay informed and up to date
Oh
with
yeah.
everybody.
No,
And
it's
that's how I let everybody know stuff.
same.
Yeah. That's how a lot of people found out
Well, that's
about
what it's
art.
meant for. That's what it's meant
Yeah.
for. So I feel like,
That's how people come to our shows
well, yeah,
sometimes
it's how
like,
people
"Hey,
find us. I do feel
there you
like,
go, yes."
and maybe this is also, it's just seeing how different generations handle using social media. I feel like is a lot. Like I feel like the younger generation, like I'll see my kids doing a lot to like promote what their friends are doing and like, look at my friend, she's so beautiful, or look at her in this outfit, or there's a lot of like putting up of, like, and which is like beautiful. I like that. I like to see that. I feel like for us, we're using it more like to promote shows and things like that. Um, but yeah, I saw the most craziest thing though the other day. It was somebody who is within our age group. She left her husband and moved in with her children's hockey coach,
Oh,
but
okay.
decided to use Facebook to make the announcement. Hey, I'm in a relationship with this new guy now. Now, she wasn't divorced and hadn't even really broken it off with the husband by letting him know. She let the whole family find out with a
Including the
Facebook
including the
relationship
husband?
update. A Facebook relationship up.
Mm,
That's not what that's for.
yeah, but
Yeah.
hey,
But she did
it's
it.
so easy
But
to
she did it.
use it that way.
But it was funny though, because younger people that I know who know this family,
They were like, "Fine."
no, the younger people were like, she should be banned from that's not appropriate. Like the younger, like they were offended by it. And like
Oh, so even so
she
younger
shouldn't be allowed
people
to use.
also think
They
it
they
was
thought that was
the
really
wrong
in
way
poor
to do it?
taste. They
Mhm.
thought it was incredibly well because it was in poor taste. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
but
mean, I think that
it was really bad. Super
regardless
bad.
of, yeah, I don't think I know anybody who's done it.
I didn't until that day.
Yeah,
And I'm still talking about it because I'm like,
yeah.
really, that happened? This was the most craziest thing I'd ever
I've
seen.
come to know that some people are just too into their cats, with social media. There's
Oh, the
people that I
cats.
know that I'm like, okay, I've always known that you have a cat, but this is kind of, like, do you have
I feel like
human friends anymore?
I feel like that's an our generation thing, though. I feel like people in our generation and older tend to put up too many pet pictures.
Yeah,
Way too
yeah.
many
People
pet
turn into
pictures.
cat ladies and they don't know
And
it.
dog people. There's dog people
Yeah,
too. The
yeah.
dog people. I'm gonna say we've got a couple dog people in our circle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who
I'm a
post
dog
a lot of
person.
dog
I
pictures.
put I
Yeah.
put some. Yeah, but I have a sign that
And if
says not
JC
too many
Campbell is
dog
listening,
pictures.
hi JC.
Mhm.
I'm not at all talking about the 5 pictures of Samson and his meals all day, but
Yeah.
he's a beautiful dog.
Yeah, well, those are amazing dogs.
He's a beautiful boy. I mean, I smile.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
like
not
'em.
hating on it. I'm just saying. But
I
people our
like 'em.
age tend to post more pictures of their pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially cats. There's something about cats.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And yeah, I have a couple of friends. I know why. The whole cat thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well,
younger generation, I don't see them doing that as much with the pets.
no.
No.
There is a moment in which you wake up and suddenly you have this urge to go to Home Depot and buy all the gardening supplies. Suddenly that's your personality. You're a gardener and you are also a cat lady. And then you wake up and you're like, how did this
What
happen?
happened?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. It's happened to some friends of mine.
Yeah.
I think, folks, that we have run out of time.
I do too.
Okay.
good?
It's all right. You guys can keep going.
Okay.
If you want to. It's up to you. I realized you guys were looking at the clock and I was going to give you a hard deadline.
Oh, okay.
That's
You
all
want to
good.
come into a natural thing? I'll just do a quick little shimmy right before. Do you have more to talk?
We should wrap it up, I suppose. But
Did we do it 45?
what should we say?
You
Should we,
come in there,
okay.
if you-
Should we say what we see older people posting just to wrap that up and like
Yeah.
tie it up?
Yeah,
tie it up?
let's do. Yeah.
So so older people, I feel like,
Okay, so
okay.
I'm just gonna do a clap myself.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like in our age group, it's the heavy pet posting, right? Younger
heavy
kids.
pet
Oh, and the
posting.
meals.
Yeah, yeah. My
Like,
pets are heavy.
Look,
I tell
I
you
cooked.
that.
Look, I cooked something. Here's a picture of my
And I'm
food.
shameless. They should be on a diet.
Here's my dog in a sweater, or here's my cat, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like the younger generation, they're really great at photography because their phones work like the best camera equipment in the world. So they're really great at like the glamour
Yeah.
shots of each other, making each other look amazing. But like the older generation, I'm trying to like the stuff that they post.
They,
Yeah.
then older generations become more interested in things that have to do with more functional things.
Well, yeah.
And I've noticed it, and this is actually some comedians
Right.
that are older than we
Right.
are, and they've done comedy their entire lives, but now they're older. They post things about weather.
I do see the weather,
It's weather.
the politics, and I also see the like the inspirational, like the motivational quotes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
or
see
like the
a lot of
religious
weather.
ones, like
a lot of weather,
or like the religious, like, say amen after you say this, or pass this blessing along. Like,
yeah,
like they're sharing, like
Yeah.
they're sharing a blessing or an inspirational message,
Right.
about, you're doing wonderful just as the way you are, or something like that.
yeah.
Well, but yeah, the weather,
but
weather,
the
and
weather,
politics,
that's across the board, because I
Weather,
know
yeah.
people who are anti-religion and so weather.
Yeah.
People who are very much into religion who are wet
They want to
about
post
weather.
the weather update.
Yeah, they need to tell me that, oh my goodness, the sun is finally came out. All this rain, all this storm is coming our way, a nor'easter. And I'm like, what is this? Somebody give these people a show on the Weather Channel or some news show there, a little segment there with a chroma key, and
I'm cracking up because when my parents first moved to Florida, whenever I would get my dad on the phone, it was always the weather comparison. Oh, what temperature is it there? And I'm like, Dad, we both know already.
Yeah,
It's better
they
where you
wanna
are.
know.
We know it's.
Yeah.
I'm in Pennsylvania. You're in Florida. We're talking in,
Yeah.
whatever. It would always happen during the cold months. Even during our good months here, it's always just a little bit better there. So it was always that
I don't know,
comparison.
it can be hot there too.
I know. But
Yeah.
you know,
Is it very hot? Where are they? They're like in Boca, right?
they're in like the Tampa area.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, they're in the Tampa area.
I don't think I've been to Tampa. But we have to go there to
We
do
will go there.
comedy.
We got to go
will.
there. We got to go
must.
there.
One of my best friends
There are some fun
Yeah.
mics out there. Some
I
fun rooms.
know.
Yeah.
One of my best friends lives in Naples, and she lives kind of out in, I don't know, inland.
Mm.
And but she goes to comedy shows all the time, and she says there's a lot of good comedy to be seen, and I'm like, and to be done.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, but we got to get over there to Side Splitters in Tampa, and Matt Fernandez runs a really great show over at Divine Brewing that we gotta get to. So yeah, there's tons of other spots there too, but those two were the most fun on my last trip.
We have to go there. I have to go a whole tour of
Yeah.
Florida
Oh,
because
there's-
also in Miami, there are a lot of places to do comedy in Spanish too. So which is something
down
that
in Ybor City, I bet.
I don't get to do that around here that much.
When I'm in Florida, my mom will pull this notebook out, and she'll have any of the days I'm there in town. She'll have all this pen handwriting, and then whiteout with like pen written over the whiteout, more whiteout. And
is she having fun with it? Do you think she finds it fun?
Awesome. She's like the best momager on the planet.
But she's enjoying being a part.
Yes, and she'll have a place for me to go every day, which is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, like she'll be like,
either she really wants to impress you with her, she's
into it,
comedy,
which is very organized,
scouting skills, or she wants you out of the house.
But she'll go. She'll like, and I'll tell you,
and she'll go with you.
And if you've ever been on the phone with my mom, the phone call's not over until you're doing what she wants. So yeah, no, she's good.
All right.
Yeah, she's good. So.
I gotta get her secret. No.
Yeah, no, she's good.
No, that kind of goes against the whole
and
thing.
That's maybe the other generational thing. Like I feel like the older generation, they're not afraid to push past that first or second no. Like they'll make a conversation go the way they want. Whereas I feel like for me, I'm like, so like, I try too hard to be mindful of everybody's like boundaries and feelings where like, if I sense at all that somebody doesn't want to do something, like, oh, I'm really sorry. I know. Thanks either way. And I just kind of back off. Like I'm so quick to back off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's, I feel like, but do you feel like there's an expectation for like our generation to be polite and like, not polite, maybe not polite.
Well,
that's not the right word.
That's how it is nowadays. People are more mindful of other people's boundaries, or if you sound like you're,
But I don't have a pushy bone in my body,
commanding something or demanding something.
But I mean, it wouldn't hurt me to be more assertive. But I do feel like that's something I do see in the older generation.
The previous generations,
there's so much
not
more,
give a shit about that.
But they're so assertive.
They didn't care.
And like unabashedly, like
Same. My parents were like that.
And I love that. Like, but
they were both like that, especially my mom, because she would totally come and tell you, what she thinks and what she thought, and it was not. And it was not something that she was doing consciously. That's just how it came out, and she never stopped to think, oh, what about boundaries? No, that was not on her radar.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't even a thing until I didn't even know that word. I think that's like,
if I ever said the word boundary,
I feel like the younger generation made that word.
Yeah, they kind of they used it
as a way of saying,
they didn't coin
you're being
it,
too pushy with me. Yeah,
but they're bringing it more into the zeitgeist, I would say. But my mom, for instance, she would, if she heard me talk about boundaries, she would say, who have you been hanging out with?
My boundary would be the four walls of my room.
They'd be like, go to your room. Sort of a cult or something, or some, you should go see a psychiatrist or a counselor. It's boundaries. What is that? I'm your mother. That's what she would say. Yeah, totally.
I mean, when I was little, I would watch Mr. Rogers, and and after watching Mr. Rogers, I would talk way too much about my feelings.
Oh,
to the point where
it was
my parents got to a point where they're like, they felt like the show was making me too sensitive. So I actually got cut off from Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
I actually wasn't allowed to watch him because I was a little too emotional and too expressive about
listening to that soft voice
it was just too,
in this
it
sweater.
was too changing his shoes.
I could never get over that whole process. The guy came from the street
right.
and he was dressed, and then he just changed his outfit into another street outfit. The way I saw it, it's like, okay, so I guess that is a no, but he has to put this sweater, and then he changes his shoes,
Right.
and he puts other shoes.
Right.
So it's like he's not really home. He's not really home. It's like he's like, okay, let me put softer street clothes and not.
Like he didn't go into a pair of slides.
Exactly. It's like, no, you know what? Let me just put a t-shirt, my sweats and whatever. And I remember pointing that out, and my mom would say, well, people dressed more before, and I guess it's true. When you look at your parents' photos, they were all dressed like me, ready for swing dancing, man. And and their skirts and everything, they were like proper dresses.
Well, I do feel like the generation before us is a more dressier generation.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there has been more of a shift toward like people who wear sweatpants on stage. Well, no, we see a lot of people wearing sweatpants on stage. I'm like, that's your look, Mom. I made it. Sweatpants. You're on stage.
Yeah.
Sweatpants.
Yeah. It's like sweatpants, but then you carry it too far.
Yeah.
Anything goes. I would say it's an anything goes, because I've seen people at the mall that are dressed like they dressed in the 50s because that's their style. And I'm like, oh, this woman, it's like that is her personal sense of style. And then you see somebody that's dressed like, well, maybe 70s flower power or whatever. And that, nowadays it's like that style, that the way they have their hair, the way I have my hair, everything fits into what people wear nowadays, So do you think, I think we got to the end of our podcast.
I do too.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this chat as much as we did. And please subscribe and like and share with your friends. And it's a nice thing to listen to when you're driving, when you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. And you can also watch us on YouTube if you want to see our wonderful faces. So I guess it's goodbye, right, Karen?
Yes. Thanks for listening. Now you know why we're awkward when we're around you. So please know we are trying to bridge the generational gap. Thanks again. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is comedian Neil Wood and
Adam Nutter.
We can't do it like that. You have to sound like a human being. This cut, that's insane. Because I'm realizing how little you're talking.
Adam Nutter.
I could just take, if you just want me to, honestly, you know what we need to do is we just need to get that clean.
Adam Nutter.
And then I'll just pop it in wherever I need to. But
Adam Nutter. Let's do that.
Come listen to the Cult of Us podcast. That's our promo.
Adam Nutter.
A Drop Tent Media Network podcast. Go to droptent.com or search Cult of Us podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.